Welcome to the journey of an awakening spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. The journey of an awakening spirit is about teaching you a variety of tools that you can use to step into your true self. It is about self-discovery, realizing you are not alone on your journey. We will open the phone lines, give readings, and talk about what our listeners want to know. So please welcome the host of the journey of an awakening spirit, Kathleen Flanagan.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. I am Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are on the Bold Brave TV. And today I'd like to talk about the power of visualization, shaping your reality through positive thinking. Think about something that you've always wanted to do, but you never felt it was within your capacity. What kind of life would you most want to wish for, and what kind of life would you like to lead? How would you like to feel in your ideal life? And what would you look like, and what would you do? Are you a successful career person? Are you traveling the world and grasping your destiny on one location at a time? And have you finally lost the extra weight you have been feeling bad about and living a healthier lifestyle? All of these goals are within your grasp, and there is very little that you can't achieve while doing this. And if you're new to visualization, don't worry, because we're all going to start. We all have to start somewhere. I'm sorry, I got a cat. Anyways, so basically what I want to talk about is, like, over the years, people have figured out that our mind does amazing things, and we don't realize how much power and control we actually have until we actually start using tools like visualization. And the longer we go through our life, the more we can discover that we do have these abilities within ourselves. You know, that seeing is believing is very much a real thing, because if we can see it in our mind first, then we can create it, because everything is created twice, once in our mind and once through physical manifestation. So a pencil was conceived in somebody's mind before it was actually created. The same thing with a house or paper or anything like that. Somebody visualized it and created it in their mind to begin with. A lot of times we feel that when we're watching people around us, we think that they have more advantages, they have the magic key or something like that, which is not true. We all have it. We just don't realize that we have it. And some people have learned that sometimes they've had very powerful growing up support from their parents about just how to move into that direction, or how to feel and goal orientated and things like that. I was not that fortunate of a person. I did not have any kind of support in that way. I was pretty much left alone and felt like I didn't even matter in life. I mean, there were 7 kids in my family, and as a result of that, I just kept being pushed aside, because as a new kid came along, my mother got crazier and busier, and we all kind of went down this road of not having enough and feeling like nobody mattered or nobody cared about me. And I knew that I was a smart person, and I knew that I could do a lot of things, but I decided, why should I care? And which was very destructive at that point. And I didn't really understand to that full degree of why that was so destructive. But as a result of that, there was a lot of negative thinking and a lot of negative connotations that I started to develop, thinking I wasn't deserving, I wasn't worthy. I was told that I shouldn't ask for the things that I wanted, my mother, because I was selfish. And I just heard a lot of bad negative talk during this time of my life. And I had to move through that. I had to look at all those old paradigms, all that old self-limiting belief that I had, and not continue to believe in that. I had to start looking that I was somebody different and somebody better, that I was a creature of God. I was created from God, and I should, I wasn't junk. I had value and I had worth, but I didn't fully understand that then. But I did hear about visualization, and I thought it was a bunch of hooey at the time because I was very young and immature. But I remember back in the 70s, athletes in the Soviet Union began to practice the technique of visualization. And what they did is they would purposely think about detailed performances on the field, and they would play these images in their mind over and over, mentally practicing in their downtime and while they were asleep. And through this art of visualization, it actually helped them to hone their reflexes and perform better on the field. And ever since then, it has become a popular technique for many athletes across the world. And it's because it works. And our brains are the stewards of our bodies, and they help us to direct us in the directions that we have to go, and they give us the power to make those lasting changes in our lives. And they control our reflexes. And I remember when I was in Chicago, I had my dance teacher, and I had a little 600 square foot apartment, so I had no room to practice anything. But I practiced in my mind. And that was what was so cool, is I was practicing these routines that he gave me, or the steps that I was learning, in my mind. And I just practiced it for like a whole week. And when I went back to class that week, the next week, he had said, "Wow, you've really been practicing," because he could see the improvement in me. And I didn't say anything because the only way I practiced was in my mind. And what's amazing is our mind does not know the difference between reality and imagination. And that was a concept that I had to take into really looking at, because when you focus on negativity, the mind keeps saying, "Okay, as you wish," and it's going to keep recreating that. So if you're visualizing that your health is bad, or you're focused on your health, or you're focused on something, that's where your mind goes, is where everything else goes. So when you change the way you're thinking, or you decide you want something different or better in your life, then you start creating this process of visualization. And again, I was just talking to my business partner, and I said, when I moved to Chicago, my whole life changed. Now, I had been working on visualization for a lot of years. I've been doing a lot of techniques and learning, but I also had a lot of paradigms that I had to move through. And they were some pretty deep-seated things of my unworthiness. I didn't deserve. I wasn't allowed to ask for anything. I was supposed to suffer. Money is the root of all evil, and whatever else it was. There was just so many things. And I had to really move through that. And I had to actually change how I viewed myself as well, because for the first time in my life, I wanted to be a better person, because before then I didn't really care. I mean, I didn't want to stay on this planet, and I wanted to go home, and that was where I was focused on. And when I decided that I wanted to give this life a shot, that's when I started to make tremendous change in my life. And I remember that whole time in Chicago of what I wanted instead of what I don't want, because we're all masters at what we don't want. Every bit of us knows what we don't want, but we never know what we want. And even if we say, "I don't know what I want," or "I don't want this," the universe hears, "I want this." So it's your language and your self-talk is key, and is vital to change, to make sure you're getting what you want in your life. So what I did is I started creating and imagining what I wanted to be like, and who I wanted to be, and what I wanted in my life. And I just kept that in the forefront. And I wrote books about how to do all this as well. And it was a struggle, because when you first start changing and moving into a new direction, your mind and your paradigms come up, and you're challenged, and you really have to be behind what it is. And I was very committed to being a different person and a better person, and bringing and coming more into alignment, because who I saw in my mind and who I acted as were two different beings, and I wanted to bring those together into one person, to where I was that divine being, that I showed happiness and joy and love instead of anger and bitterness, and walked around with a chip on my shoulder, because that takes a lot of energy, and it was just started to just not be fun anymore. And what I discovered through the visualization is this is also how the law of attraction works. And, because we're always like, well, if I just do this, then, or I act like this, things will start moving towards me. And there is some truth in that, but it's the visualization, it's how the mind has to work. So if I decide I want to be a better person, so what's the first thing that's going to happen? The first thing that happened was all my garbage came to my face. I had to bring light into those dark recesses of myself. I had to bring them to the surface so I can look at them, release them, forgive them, whatever it is I had to do, and allow the light to come in and start being better. And that meant if I wanted to be happier, then it was like a lot of things that I was unhappy about would come up, and I just had to start changing my perspective. And that was what was really important to learn and notice, because if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and you're not paying attention to being present and here now, you're not going to know what needs to change. Because when you're present and you're conscious in this moment and you're here now, if something triggers you, then it's so easy to go back and it's like, well, what just happened? What made me feel like I'm down in the dumps? What just happened that came in that I don't know about? And maybe it was something you watched on TV, or it was somebody said something to you, or you read something. I mean, it could be anything, and you just have to look at that, because what that is telling you is there's something inside of you that needs to change. And look at it, because it's a gift. What was just given to you was a gift. And when you start moving through that, then it brings more light, then more joy starts coming in, and you start seeing that you're moving a little bit more into the direction of your dream, because you're observing you're not so angry all the time, or that you're frustrated or feeling overwhelmed, because you're visualizing an outcome. Like my business partner, we talked the other day because he had to go up to Riverton for this job that we're doing, and he had an issue with the general contractor. And the workers did things they shouldn't have done, and he had to go up and do testing and rein in the contractor. And he said the first thing that happened is that all these bad things, dark things, that started to come across. And I said, well, sometimes that's what our mind does. It's going to let us know. It's going to prepare us in advance for what's going on. But see, now once you know that, now you can create what you want the outcome to be. And as a result, his outcome turned out to be what he wanted it to be. I mean, that's just how it is. So we always have to pay attention that our egos are going to come up, and they're going to move in a direction that's always going to show darkness or negativity first. And that's not always a bad thing. It just prepares you so you can decide for that outcome that you're looking for to begin with. So you're always wanting to keep that outlook of the outcome of what you want in front of you. So when we're processing images in our mind into our daily lives, sometimes one of a thing you can do, if you want to say you want to have more vacation time, you want to lose some weight, whatever, vision boards are really, really good for making those kind of changes, because if you can see it every day, you're moving in that direction, because even though you are unconsciously doing anything, your subconscious mind is going out there and it's creating that. And I remember talking to a woman years ago that she had this ring she wanted, and she put it up on her bathroom mirror, and her husband saw it every day, and she saw it every day, but she didn't think about it. She just knew that it was a ring she wanted, and she ended up getting it for Christmas because her husband had seen the ring every day, and unconsciously he went out and bought her the ring. And that's what a vision board can do, because sometimes if there's people involved in your life with you, they can help create those visions for you. Not everybody wants to do a vision board, or they think it might be a little bit more on the difficult side, or they don't have the time and they would rather write down your goals. That's another thing. Writing down goals is another way to visualize. And when you're visualizing, you want to be able to bring all of your beingness into it. You want to think about it. You want to feel it. You want to experience it. You want to try to taste it and touch it. And you want to live as if, like, what would my future self be like if I had this? How would I act? How would I feel about it? Would I feel joyful? Would I feel relaxed? Would I, it's like those kind of things. Because I remember I went to, I'll tell you that right after we take a short break from our sponsors.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are on the Bold Brave TV network. So what I was getting ready to say is, years ago, I wanted to attend this seminar in Arizona, and I had no way of knowing how I was going to get there or where I was going to create the money or anything. And I just decided I was going, and that was all there was to it. And this was probably maybe 3 to 4 months when I made that decision to go, and I just felt the calling to go. And I said I was going to go, and I visualized every day. I visualized going, what it would be like to drive there, what the road conditions were like, what the weather was like, how it would feel being there. And I put every bit of what I could imagine into that situation. And in the 11th hour, the money came through and I was on the road. And I remember the moment I hit this one part in New Mexico, and I was telling my partner, I said, oh my God, this is what I saw in my visualization every time I said when I wanted to see what the weather was like and the road conditions and everything. And I was so blown away that that visualization had worked. And this is before 2008. So this is where something that I just tried an experiment. And I was just amazed that this was and how effective it worked. And sometimes it does take till the 11th hour, but I never gave up believing. And that's one of the key factors, is never giving up. Now, a little bit of history on visualization is, our cave dwellers, they drew everything in pictures on their cave. So it was a way that we knew how to communicate. It was the early stage of communication was through pictures, and our mind sees in pictures. So it makes sense that visualization is a very powerful and dynamic tool. So that's why when you can put a vision board or see pictures of what you want to look like or how you want to feel, or just being in, some exotic location, why not do that? Because I realized that a lot of times that I wanted to travel the world. And I remember I was sailing one time in one of the lakes in Colorado, and I had wanted to go to the Andes. And for some reason, I looked up and it was like, oh my God, I think I'm in the Andes. And I wasn't, but it was like I was just visualizing what it would be like to be there in the water on a boat in the Andes. And it was like I created. So sometimes we create things in a way that we don't even realize, because it was like I felt like I had gone and I was ecstatic about it. And then I continued to enjoy the rest of my trip on the water. But one of the things that when you are in early onset visualization, we start visualization, you have to deal with the negativity. And these are all the things that happened to us when we were children, anything that we took in or we interpreted in not such a good way. And visualization actually works against this, because we programmed our brains to see things a certain way, even if they weren't right. It's how we interpreted things, because we're emotional beings when we're younger. And when we get older, we start needing to take care of that, because if something negative happens to us, we seem to dwell on it, hone in on it, really dissect it, really just get into it and start creating a lot of drama around our lives. And a lot of times when that drama is happening, it's because of something that happened in our childhood. Our spirit is trying to say, it's time to move through this. It's not working. This visualization that you're doing is bringing that particular situation up. Again, that's why I said you want to be here now. You want to pay attention to where you are. You want to watch your thought processes and what's happening and what you're feeling around there, because you're in the process of changing your neural pathways. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen, oh God, I can't even think of it now. It was this that came out, and it was about the deaf girl who was always said negativity and negative things about herself. I can't even think of the name of this title documentary. And Bob Proctor was part of it and all of that. And it was about her and how much she hated herself. And she said she was ugly and horrible and blah, 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 because she wasn't getting what she wanted. And then she was watching how water, when you say what the water pictures that were coming out of Japan of what it had around love. And I'm sorry, I really cannot remember this name. But anyway, she changed her attitude about herself and was drawing pictures on herself and saying how much she loved herself. And in her mind, there were these little, blubbery kind of things going on, because she was watching what was going on at a wedding at one point. And it was just kind of funny, because that's kind of like what happens in our mind. We view the world around us a certain way, and however we interpret the world is how we see it. But when she changed how she looked at herself, then there was this whole dynamic in her brain that was changing at the same time. And it's a very powerful and it's very effective when we can do that, but we don't fully understand the power of our brain at that time. And we really do have to change that neural programming. And it's really easy, because if we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, the synapses in our brain are going to, like, the old ones are going to break and they have to form new ones, but you have to give it time. That's why being patient with yourself is so critically important, because it takes time for things to change. And so the main first step, of course, is being mindful. And I think when I decided that I wanted to be happy and really dial in on happiness and looking for things to be happy, because that was how I was controlling it. And I just wanted to feel like the world was in my favor and not against me. And that I wanted to get rid of drama too. That was another big thing, was getting drama out of my life. And the only place that I saw drama was on the stage or when I was dancing. I didn't see any other place that I wanted to go with drama. So it's about reprogramming and retraining your brain. So as long as you're staying focused on being positive, then that's going to really keep moving in that direction. And you don't want to doubt what you're doing, because doubt will definitely stop it. Like when I decided I wanted to go to that seminar, and even though it didn't look like it was going to happen, there was no doubt in my mind it was going to happen, because I wouldn't let doubt enter my mind. Just like I don't let doubt enter anything now. So even though I saw I still do, I see things the way I want to see them, and I think they're going to be easy to get there, and it's not always that way, because stuff happens, okay? But my decision and my attitude is, I'm going to make this work in spite of everything that's happening against me. Because you know what? This is an opportunity for me to learn and to grow. And sometimes this is about refining what you want. And when I bought my house, and I kept thinking my partner and I were on the same page, and discovering we weren't. And I finally said, Sal, what is it that you actually want in a house? What do you want, and are you willing to go without? Because for some reason we weren't connected, and we're both in this house together, so we both had to connect together. And what happened was, we both decided what we actually wanted, and what we really and we were going, it was, if it wasn't there, we weren't going to look at it. We didn't care about a lot of certain things about the house, but there were certain things that had to be there. And the minute that we dialed in together, and I mean really dialed in, it was like the next house I looked at, I said, Sal, I think this is our house. And we bought it because it had everything we were looking for. It had like the square footage that I wanted. It had the fireplace. I mean, it had 42-inch cabinets, and I didn't want those, but I wanted those in my current house, was 42-inch cabinets. It's a galley kitchen, not quite the kitchen that I wanted, but you know what? I had counter space. I had cabinetry. I had storage. I was just blown away of like all the extra things that came along with just what we wanted. You know, because we wanted a 3-car garage. I didn't want a big yard. I don't have a big yard, and I'm really glad about that. But I still have a corner lot. You know, so many things were just came out of just the specifics of what we want. So that's why when you're visualizing, that's why it's really important to know the specifics of what you're looking for or what you want, because sometimes it's those things that really matter is what's going to drive the universe to help you bring that in. Clarity is key here. Because a lot of times we're vague. You know, it's like, I want a new house. Well, what does the house look like? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What's the location? Do you want to be in the city? You want to be on a farm? You want to be in the mountains? You want to be on the beach? You know, things like that. Those are all very key factors, because, you know, a house is just a house, and the universe can't really help you. Your subconscious mind struggles going out there to help you find what you're looking for too. So being very detailed and specific on what you want. And, you know, another thing that I've talked to people about is, people say, I want to lose weight. Well, you know, if you lose it, you're going to find it. It's going to come back. That's kind of how I see it. And so the self-talk that we have is also very key, of talking as if, living as if, being as if. Instead of losing weight, why don't you just say, I'm releasing weight to the universe? So that way it's not going to come back. It's not going to find its way back to you, but you're releasing something. So when you're releasing that, that means you're releasing other things that cause the weight gain, you know, or you're releasing bad habits that are going with it, even if you don't know what they are yet. It's a different mindset. That's why when you have goals, and they break it down into steps of what's measurable and attainable, and can you get it done in a certain amount of time, because those are building blocks for you to be able to create what you want in your life. So if you have smaller goals, that's teaching you how to visualize. It's teaching you the steps you need to take, because if you get an idea about something that's coming in on what you want, then you trust that. You have to follow that, because sometimes it's going to lead you, because nothing is in a straight line in life ever, 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 ever. You're always going to zigzag your way to wherever you're going. And I remember one time that I had this dream, and I know that I had zigzagged up this mountain for a very long time. And I was like, oh, yay, I'm finally at the top of the mountain. And I was starting to head down because I knew I was getting closer to my dream, because now I'm on the descent instead of on the incline. So that's a good sign, right? And then all of a sudden I start seeing I'm zigzagging all the way down. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding? This is going to be doing the same thing. It's not a trajectory to where I want to go. No. And you know what? Since I had that dream in 2017, I have been zigzagging back and forth on this journey to get to where I'm going. And I may not be where I want to be yet, but you know what? I am so much closer because I am paying attention to where I am and what I'm doing. And I think a lot of it has to do with how I wake up. Again, morning practice. What is your morning practice? You know, gratitude is a key factor in what you want, but how do you want your day to look? You know, what are you going to do today that's going to move you closer to your dream, closer to the goal that you have? And that is so important that we discipline ourselves enough to keep doing that, because if you do it once, it's never going to happen. This is a discipline. This is a journey that you have to take in order to set yourself up for success. Because if you wake up and you're in a bad mood, you can get out of that mood. I mean, because you have that much power and control. And that's what's really important, is that your morning practices sets the tone for your day. And if you want to be happy instead of grumpy, then set the tone and do that. And we will be right back once we hear from our sponsors.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flanagan, and we are on the Bold Brave TV network. So another technique to work with visualization is affirmations. So instead of feeling like you're powerless, or your negative self-talk is, I'm just such an impatient person, or I'm so unworthy of this. When you decide to start saying affirmations on a daily basis of, say, I'm a patient person and I don't respond with anger in situations that is not required, or I am worthy to deserve, I am a child of God. One of my favorites that I like to do right now is I and the Father are one, because that means I'm co-creating with God. He's helping me to move into that direction where I'm co-creating, because we're not on this journey alone. We have our spirit guides and support all around us. Believe it or not, you're never alone, ever, ever, ever. And when you're working in a co-creation scenario, like you have a team around you, why not ask them? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have gone out and asked for, I really suck at marketing. That's what I tell myself. Okay. I had to change that I suck at marketing. And I had to start saying, I'm really good at marketing. And the only way I knew how to get good at marketing is to learn, to study, to do it. And also, I asked for help from the other side of who's the best marketing guru out there on that side who can help me and show me where I need to go to get to the next level on how to market. Do you know what? Those things are actually happening. I'm sorry. This is Felix. He's doing very well. Anyways, and that's what I do, is just asking for help, because we have loved ones on the other side and they're willing to help you. All you have to do is ask. I mean, that's the one thing we all forget to do, is ask. We're allowed to ask. And so that's what I've done, is as I've done that, and I've worked on really working when I was working through a lot of worthiness issues, because there was something that was still deep down inside that I didn't feel like I was worthy. And so I kept working through worthiness of, I am worthy, I am deserving, I am loved. It is my divine right to have this. And I remember once I finally felt like I was worthy of that, then the next level that came up that I didn't even realize was, I don't trust myself still. And I did trust myself, but there was like a whole new layer of something that was underneath worthiness. And those are things you need to really pay attention to, because we're going to find out. And, and I understand the trust is that you need to trust yourself. It's not so much always about trusting somebody else. It's about trusting you, trusting in your ability to make the right decisions. Because I've had people tell me, you really suck at finding people and hiring people and all of this. And, and it's like, yeah, because I hired you. But I decided that I didn't like that. I didn't like somebody saying that. And I didn't like telling that to myself, because I was telling that to myself as well. And somebody voiced it for me to see it. And I said, no, that's not how it is. I make really good decisions on helping people to work with me, to support me, and I support them. And this is a win-win situation. And so those are the things that I started to do, was really looking at some of the self-talk that I didn't even know that I was having, and moving further into, wow, this is another block that's holding me back. And it's a gift. It's a good thing, even though it may not feel good when you discover it, but it's a good thing, because that gives you the opportunity to get rid of it, open up your heart a little bit more, bring a little bit more light into you, and bring in more answers to where you're going. It's getting you one step closer into that, because your vibrations is going up. And I've always said that when your vibration matches your dream, it will manifest. And there's a part also in visualization that I think is so profound. And I actually live this. A lot of this happened with my house. Was there's a point when you're so close to your dream manifesting that divine providence comes in. And it helps you. And it's almost like you have to get out of your own way and let it happen, because you have done so much work and put so much energy into your dream and your goal, that the universe comes in and says, okay, it's time. And you get out of your way and you just sit back and watch it happen, and move when you need to move. Otherwise, get out of the way. And that was so amazing, because when we were buying the house and my partner kept saying, slow down, I said, I can't. I just can't. I wish I could, because this is too much for me as well. But I just had to keep moving forward. And that is what's so exciting, because when that big dream comes and you finally stop long enough to feel what that meant and how you feel, and like, you're like, whoa, this is what I created. And then it's like, this is how I feel. And it was like everything you thought you would feel like when you got your dream is like right there. And you're going, whoa, I didn't really think I believed that this was possible. And yet it was possible. But you don't always know that. And it's always such a surprise, at least for me it is, because I'm so focused on getting the work done that when it comes, I need to stop and receive that gift. And I remember when I bought my house, and we had unpacked enough to where it was like, wow, I don't know where I am. I mean, because that this energetic field, that my energy level had gone up so much. And I was like, wow, I don't know where I am. I don't know this energy at all. This is way beyond me. And it took me a year to get up to that energy. Last year was not a good year for me on many, many levels, because I was adjusting and bringing my vibration up further to where I was, because I knew where I was going and I got there. But then when divine providence comes in, it's like it accelerates this growth and energetic field that I don't think I was prepared for. And it took me a year. But in that year, what did I do? I refined my goals. I kept saying, you know, God is my source for money. Because it wasn't coming in any of the ways that I used to. So I realized that I money is my divine right. Whatever it is, I'm taken care of, I'm being provided for. And I had to really work on my mindset. I had to fight depression. I had to fight a lot of things last year. And then I break my hand and I'm like, oh my God, what else do I have to do? And I just kept doing, and I never gave up. I never got into depression. I really fought my mental health. And I kept visualizing who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And to this day, today, I'm like, wow, I am such a far cry of where I was a year ago. And thank God, because I'm getting closer to who I am and where I want to be. And again, and my goals and my dreams and moving into this new career that I want, it's like all the signs are here. They're here. The financial side's not fully here yet, but that's okay. Everything's coming in to lead me in that direction. And every step I take moves me into that. And the other thing, when you're visualizing, you also want to vocalize it. It's nice to say it to yourself quietly, but when you say it out loud, it's like you're hearing your own words. You're programming your own self. And I remember years ago, one of the techniques people would say is you say what you want, you record it, and then you listen to it over and over again. Like neurolinguistic programming, I think it was designed for that. If you got into a higher one of their other programs, that you wrote what you wanted and then you read it, and then it was created for you in your voice. Because when you hear what you want, it does something more, and it's vocalizing because you're externalizing what you're asking for. And so you're hearing it with your own words. It starts moving you faster in that direction, because if you're silent, it's fine. But sometimes it's like you want to tell people, and you only want to tell people who are going to support you in your dream of what you want. And get people to support you in that. Create that mastermind. Because sometimes, if we have really big dreams and we're visualizing big things, we get frustrated or we get discouraged or think it's never going to happen. And that's not the case, because you come back and you say, this is what it looks like when all this is coming together. Because we don't know what's going on out in the ethers around us. We have no clue what is happening. And I remember there are times in my business where things were happening and I didn't understand why, and I felt angry and frustrated. But I kept believing and I kept moving forward, and I had to reroute my direction, and it was okay. And then a month or two later, I would find the reason why, whatever that block was that came up. And sometimes it was, I was looking at a manufacturing company for my products and found out that their facility had a lot of contamination, and I would have killed my business before it started. But Spirit saw that. I didn't. They did, and they rerouted me. And I was like, thank you, God, because then I got a better manufacturing company out of it. So you need to say thank you for that, because those are gifts as well, because we don't see the bigger picture. We're not designed to see the bigger picture. Would we love to? Oh, hell yeah, we would love to, but we don't. So you have to trust. And that trust comes from within you. And that's why when I always say, when we have, you have a mastermind or people that are around to support you, because there are times when you just feel like, oh God, nothing's working. And yet your people can see it working for you. And you believe for them. It's like, if you can believe that I believe in you, if you can see that I see it in you, then, that's good enough, because sometimes you can't see it. You can't get behind it. But if somebody's believing in you, you're going to do it. I know I work that way. I've always wanted to be seen and recognized and believed in. And so when people do that for me, like, I believe in you, I see this happening for you, and I see it's really close. And sometimes to me, it is so far away, I will never see it. And but then there's that moment where everything starts coming together, and it's like, wow. And so that's another cool thing about it. Sometimes people write to-do lists, but you don't want to have too many to-do lists on what you need to do to move into your direction of your dream. So sometimes if you just write down, like I do to-do lists, like if I have a lot of things for businesses I have to do, get it out of my head so I can allow creativity to come in. Or if I need to do something that I've never done before, if I get certain things out of my head, then I allow that to come in so I can move and find what that is that I'm looking for. And that's what's really cool about to-do lists. So I don't overdo it. I'm not trying to control my life. I'm not trying to control anything, because when you control, you hang on too tightly, and then what you want may never happen because you're controlling it, because you have to allow it to come in. There are times when your goals and dreams are ready to manifest, and then there's this intense emotional part of you that comes in, and you just want to sob, and you feel depressed, and you're like, what is going on? And the way visualization works, it has to go up through the 7 layers of your mind. It goes out into the universal mind, finds what it wants and what it's doing to help you bring it in, and it comes back through the 7 layers of your mind. And when it hits the 6th layer, which is your emotional side, you have to allow that emotion to come out, because when it's in the 6th level of consciousness, it is right before it manifests. So we stop ourselves when we do that. So when you allow that emotion to come out, if it's tears, anger, frustration, you allow it to come out, it will manifest. And I have proven that over and over again. Well, we're going to take a break, and I will see you right after we have a word from our sponsors.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flanagan, your host on the Bold Brave TV network. So the one other thing that I want to make really clear on this visualization aspect, I tell you that we should have masterminds or people that support us, because if we have the people that are negative around us, their negativity is going to keep us down. It's like the crabs in a bucket. People say they want you to be happy and successful and all of that, but when you start moving in that direction and you are creating a new life, there are people that are just going to get very jealous, or you're going to make them very uncomfortable because you're changing and growing and they're not. So you want to get rid of negative people that don't have your best interest at heart. And that's a real important factor, because I remember that I think it was probably the beginning of a lot of the big changes were happening was before I moved to Chicago, but it was all around this particular time. And my family was probably one of the most destructive people that I had around me, that were just, I mean, they just never wanted me to be successful. They never wanted me to be happy. It just seemed like everything was my fault, and they would tell me that, like, if my mother died, somehow they were going to make it my fault, and they actually said that to me. And I just remember that I just couldn't do this anymore. That as much as I may have loved my family, I didn't feel like it was reciprocated, and I never met so many people that just really didn't have the best thoughts about me. So I finally got rid of them. And it was the best thing I ever did, was making my family go away. I got way happier. I wasn't fighting my own personal demons. I wasn't constantly being reminded that I was just so worthless and undeserving and whatever else they used to tell me. And that weight that went off my shoulders was amazing. I had no idea how much my family weighed me down, because I was moving through getting rid of people that were negative around me. If I couldn't handle them, I would just kind of like disappear, is how I would do it. I just kind of vanish after a while. And so I was able to do that, but I never really stopped long enough about my family. And that was the best thing I could have done for myself, because that was, again, another huge stepping stone for me to move into where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be this better person. That I moved to Chicago and really dialed in on that, where I felt like I put my big girl panties on, and my mother was unhappy and hung up the phone on me when I told her that I had moved, because she was no longer running my life. She couldn't control me anymore, and she was angry about that. And it was like, wow, that blew me away when she did that. But it was okay, because I felt good about myself, and it was worth me to feel good about myself, and I deserve to feel good about myself. So I kept moving in that direction of that deservingness, of that I'm worthy and that I am somebody better and bigger than I ever thought I was. I'm not that small, insignificant person that I had been told. So getting rid of that kind of negativity in people, and people that harm you, that say negative things about you. If they're saying something constructive, that's one thing. But if they've got their thumb on you and they're pushing you down and making you feel bad about yourself, it's time to have those people move on. And that's why I say, and I do this more and more all the time, is I have people that support me around me, because I need that. And it feels good to have that, where I can bounce ideas off of somebody's head, or they help me to see a perspective that I would never, ever, ever think about doing. And this is all positive reinforcement, or it helps me to get more detailed in my vision, or tweak it just a little bit more, because sometimes that tweaking makes all the difference in the world. And so when you're doing that, when you really refine what you want and where you're going, and then you allow all this amazing stuff to come in, because there's so many gifts that are coming towards you, because you are taking your power back. You are empowering yourself. You're also creating those boundaries, because we need to have boundaries, and we are allowed to feel good. So all these techniques of just what you want and visualizing creates this amazing growth in yourself. And then you start seeing how powerful you are. I mean, last night I tried a technique on healing myself because I woke up with this incredible pain from my neck to all the way down my back from this pillow that I slept on. And I was in so much pain the whole day that I tried this technique last night and visualized and just took all of my energy, went inside, visualized that I was going to be pain-free, and then expanded my light all the way out. And I fell asleep, woke up, and I was completely pain-free, and I'm pain-free today. That's how much power we have, because I visualized I wanted my body to be pain-free. I did not like what that was, and I went and started addressing it. So that's part of the co-creation, because something said, I was reading this book and it said, try this. And so I'm like, okay, I don't think I fully understand what you're saying, but I'm going to give it a try. And I took it the way I would interpret it. And that was what was powerful about it, is because even though the author was saying a certain technique, I couldn't understand the technique enough, but I knew things that I did that I thought, well, I think this will be how it works for me. And it did work, because we are light, and our light heals us. Our light makes us positive and moves in our direction. And it's our light that gets bigger as we grow. And the bigger our light, the better we are, the happier we are, and the more life gives back to us. So that's what I have for this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we're going to have Zach Lyotis on. I'm not sure what our topic is, but it should be a good show anyways, because we have a lot of fun together when we get together. And I want to remind you that you can reach me at Kathleen M. Flanagan's website.com, and I have services there, and you can reach out and schedule an appointment with me if you'd like to have a consultation. I'm also offering the 40% coupon off of Awakening Spirit, so it's Bold bravetv. And on grandmasnaturalremedies.net, it's 20% off the CBD products. So I just wanted to thank you for watching. This is Kathleen Flanagan, and this is the Journey of an Awakening Spirit, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And from my heart to yours, have a fabulous week and make it positive and dynamic and beautiful. Bye for now.
This has been the Journey of an Awakening Spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. Join Kathleen each week as she will inspire and empower all those who are drawn to her to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. Right here Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.